Hey there, today I'm going to be benchmarking the Intel Pentium G7400 in Cyberpunk 2077. This has 32GB of DDR4 RAM running at 3200 MHz. It's 2 sticks of it, by the way, so it's dual channel. The boot drive is a 5400 RPM Western Digital hard drive, and the game drive is a SSD, which is hooked up through USB 3.0. And again, you can see the graphics card in Task Manager, and if we come over to here, you can see it in GPU-Z, and you can see the CPU in CPU-Z. Starting off, I am playing at 1080p on borderless windowed mode with no frame rate cap. Coming over to the graphics menu here, you can see that we are on the, well, it was the low settings, but now it's custom. If we scroll all through here, it is the low settings, alright? You can't really go any lower than we are right now. I guess the volumetric cloud quality could be turned down, but this is what you get basically when you set the game on to the low settings. I am actually not sure why it says custom. Let's try low again here. Quality preset, low. Oh, it's because I turned off upscaling. That's what happened. Either way, let's play the game at 1080p on the low settings with no upscaling and see what happens. Alright, we are now in Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, wait, no, this isn't Grand Theft Auto 5. I was playing off camera a while ago and I managed to end up here. I have to drive significant distance this way to get back to the city. But now that we're in like the suburbs, you can see what the frame rate is here in the suburbs. It's sitting around 60 roughly. Oh, we just dropped down into the 40s for a moment. Yep, we're consistently in the 40 FPS range. Let's try to do some traffic gapping. There we go. Is that what that's called? I don't know. Oh, 30 FPS. It's getting lower. We might get some drops into the 20s. I kind of doubt it, but it is possible. Keep in mind, this is a dual-core CPU, not a quad-core, so it does have less threads to spare, which kind of means it might lag a bit more. Maybe. We will see. Let's head on through here to the most intensive spot in the entire map that I know of and see what happens. So we're looking at 40 to 50 right around here. 1% lows are around 33, so all in all, the performance is actually quite good. Alright, we have arrived. Oh, we just spiked down to around 30 frames per second. That's fine. And we're sitting around 40 here, 45. That is quite good. So let's try something called upscaling here. So if we go over to the graphics, we have resolution scaling. By the way, I'm not going to be testing out NVIDIA DLSS. The reason why is DLSS only works on NVIDIA cards for one, and for two, DLSS does not have upscaling, at least with the graphics card I have. And a lot of the graphics cards NVIDIA has that DLSS actually works on don't support upscaling either. But with FSR from AMD, well, you can use upscaling, so that's what I'm going to be using for most of this video. So let's try AMD Fidelity Super Resolution 3. Everyone has access to that. I'm going to be leaving it on quality. And also because of that, we have frame generation, which might actually come in handy. I don't know. Let's turn that on and see what happens. I do not expect anything. The reason why is we are CPU bound entirely, not graphics card bound. And yeah, as you can see, the frame rate from having Fidelity FX Super Resolution turned on is exactly the same. There's literally no difference in frame rate. CPU usage is still fully maxed out, and the game, well, I mean, it looks fine. It's a little bit worse like this, I think. Let's turn it back off real quickly for a moment, just so I have a comparison. Yeah, I think it looks a little bit better when it's turned off. Is there anything higher I can go? Oh, there's native AA. I don't know what native AA exactly means, so let's try native AA and see if it looks better. And in terms of looks, I think this might look a little bit better than stock. So native AA doesn't really seem to help the frame rate all that much. So far with native AA, it looks really good. Alright. Later on, I'm going to crash into those and see what happens. I'm going to try to escape in a big bus, or a big truck. Alright, but now let's check out what I'm here for today. That is frame generation. There is only one option. It's FSR 3 frame generation. And it says some settings may not be saved and I have to restart. I don't know if that's true or not. And the game with frame generation feels quite good. There's a little bit of input lag, but the thing is, look at the frame time graph. The game, it's stuttering quite a bit. Again, you might not feel it through the video is only 60 FPS, but yeah, this is quite stuttery, which is not that good. So let's try to limit the frame rate inside the game to, I don't know, let's see, 50, sure, that's what it's already set to in there. Let's see what happens. Yeah, now look at that frame rate cap, alright, or the frame rate, it is flying all over the place. And it's completely ignoring the cap I just set. It's going 70, 80, even though the frame rate cap is set to 50. That is horrendous. Absolutely horrible. So, there's one thing you might be wondering is, why isn't it capping itself? I actually don't know, alright? It's ignoring the frame rate cap that I just set. But the thing I used to show you the frame rate overlay, called MSI Afterburner, it also has a feature in it called Rivia Tuner. And it allows you to limit the frame rate for whatever application you're looking at. So I'm going to limit the frame rate to 50 to see what happens. And, okay, that's a little bit better. The CPU is not quite maxed out. And, yeah, it's hovering right around 50. The 1% lows, it's having a few little spikes here and there, but this seems a little bit better than just default resolution, doesn't it? Or default settings without frame generation. I think frame generation is actually helping a decent amount here. Let's drive around a little bit and see if it lags a lot, or if it's just going to sort of sit around 50. Let's drive down the street this way and make a loop back and see if it just stays here. And I'm also going to be testing the medium settings and the high settings today. Probably not RTX though, because this is not a graphics card test, this is a CPU test. There is a little bit of jittering on the frame time graph, as you can see, but it's hovering really close to 50 flat, which is not bad. I mean, the 1% lows are 47 on a dual-core Pentium, in one of the most intensive games you can possibly get. So, it's pretty hard to complain. Either way, we have made it back with a quite good frame rate, 50 on average, with a 1% low of 46. Let's try setting the frame rate cap to 60 and see what happens. Probably it will drop below 60 regularly, but there's one way to find out, by testing it out. So it's not that good with the 60 FPS cap, because it does drop quite a bit, and you might notice that. But at least with a frame rate cap of 50, it doesn't seem to drop all that much. But there's one way I can verify that by doing the full loop that I just did one more time, but in reverse. So far, actually, it is staying right around 60 most of the time. Again, the 1% low is slightly lower for some reason. That really shouldn't be much lower. Actually, no, it's not lower, because it was 46 when I had it set to 50. And now we're only at 49. Oh, 43, my bad. So it's actually very similar. 42, 43, okay. It's very similar. The input lag is about the same, though I imagine you might end up feeling the little lag spikes a little bit easier now that the frame rate is higher. So instead of it dropping only 5 frames per second from 50 to 45, we're dropping 15 frames per second from 60 to 45. It's a little bit of a difference. Oh, that was a big lag spike. Yeah, I think 50 is the best cap. Also, since the game said I needed to restart it, I'm going to restart the game and see if that changes anything here. We are back. Now, let me just uncap the frame rate one more time and see what happens with, well, the frame rate now that I restarted the game like it asked. Yeah, no, it is still stuttering a significant amount, but I also have the option of playing with XESS, Intel version of upscaling. Do they have frame generation? They do not. Okay, so I think I'm going to be playing mainly with AMD FSR for the rest of the video, but let's test out Intel XESS. Did I enable it? I don't know if I just enabled it. Yeah, I did. Okay. So let's set it to quality. So I'm going to be playing with... I need to restart the game. Are you serious? I guess you are serious. Okay, one moment. Alright, we are back with Intel XESS, and yeah, we're sitting around 54 FPS. Let's do that loop real quick and see what kind of FPS shenanigans we can get ourselves into with XESS. But first, let's just drive around here. 46 FPS, 43 FPS, the 1% low is around 30, 27. Not the best, alright? Just right off the bat, it seems like frame generation is working a bit better. But let's again do the loop real quickly and see what happens. Because over here, we're getting 60 real frames per second. I don't know, they're both kind of real, you see both of them, but over here we're getting 60, which is not bad. I mean, that really is not bad at all. Alright, let's turn right, and then let's go over and turn right again. Hello, car, how are you doing? Are you doing alright? Do I get a free car now? Nah, let's keep driving this bus, or whatever this is. The frame rate is spending a lot more of its time below 60 like this, because before we had like 60 on average with frame generation, but now that we don't have it enabled, we're getting 52 on average so far, which is a pretty large drop. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but still though, why play with XESS if we can play with AMD FSR and get more frames per second? At least from so far, driving around, I don't see any reason to use DLSS or XESS if we have access to frame generation with AMD, because they smooth out most of the lag spikes, and the average frame rate is higher, and the 1% lows are also higher. It just seems like a better win. Oh, well, I didn't mean to set off the cops right now, but I guess we're running from the cops. Let's go full throttle in this big bus. Or whatever this is. Oh, it says code 0 and it's all back to normal? Okay, well, never mind, I won. Coming back into downtown, hot! Let's see what frame rate we get. 32 FPS. It did drop quite a bit. Yeah, XESS, it looks nice, but frame generation seems the best, at least with a weaker CPU. So let's try frame generation now at 1080p. I'm going to only be testing 1080p today. The frame rate shouldn't change between 1080p and 1440p if I'm CPU bound anyway. So to make the video shorter, we're only testing 1080p, but let's test out the medium settings now. One moment. Alright, medium settings, and I am going to be using quality AMD FSR, and we're going to see how this runs. Oh, and it didn't even ask for a restart. Well, that's pretty neat. Driving around with medium settings, it looks alright, but it's a little bit more blurry now, since I'm not using native AA. I kind of prefer native AA, but the frame rate now is hovering in the low 40s around here. I don't know if the frame rate's much worse than it was before. Might be actually about the same. Yeah, 38, 40. Not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Let's quickly try turning off this and turn it on to native AA instead, since it's a bit more sharper like that. And yeah, I think that looks better in my opinion, so I'll just leave it there for now. Okay, 37 FPS. If I'm going faster, it might be slightly lower. Let's quickly do that run around the map and see what happens. I can take this car now. It looks more fancy. It might be harder to control though, it's really moving fast. Oh, but that means I can get lower frame rate. There we go, 28 right there. Oh, that's a win-win for the frame rate benchmark here, isn't it? If we load in everything faster, that means, well, in theory, I'll get lower frame rate, right? Is that how that works? I don't know. I'm going to try it though. 30, 40, okay, 38, 35, and let's follow the smart car around the loop here. 36. Medium settings seem to be producing worse frame rate, which, well, I mean, that makes sense, alright? So what I'm going to do is turn frame generation on, and that requires a game restart for some reason, so I'm going to restart the game real quickly. One moment, please. Oh, I got the truck back. Alright. Either way, driving around with the medium settings now with frame generation, it actually feels similar, if not worse, than without frame generation. The reason why is, again, it's having all these lag spikes. It looks like a caterpillar's legs or something. I don't know. So let's try frame generation, frame rate cap at 50, which is what I found was best when I tested it last time. Let's see how it runs now. I do expect we're going to have more drops than when I was at low settings, but maybe it will run a little bit better now. Now coming this way through the tunnel, I do expect to get myself a rather large lag spike, but we will find out. So far the average is 50, which is quite impressive actually. And no lag spikes? None? Okay. I do like frame generation, but I do not like the motion blur. Holy smokes. Yeah, I don't know. I turned motion blur on by mistake, and I do not know how to turn it back off, and I'm not going to bother. Either way, oh, the 1% lows are a little bit lower now. They're down to 45 since I crashed into a sign, but even then, on the medium settings, the game looks quite good. Oh, 43. Alright, the 1% lows are a little bit lower than they were before, now that I have the settings at medium. But even then, though, I mean, 42 frames per second, 1% low, that's not half bad for a dual-core Pentium. Now let's try out the high settings. There's also Ultra. I'll test that out as well later, but let's try high. Let's leave it on FSR 3, and I'm going to use native AA, and it's not asking for a game restart for some reason. Okay. So let's roll with it. And honestly, the game to me looks very similar to before. 49 FPS here, 43, 40. Yep. The frame rate, it definitely is low. It's lower than low, that is for sure. Lower than low settings, that's what I mean. Not like lower than low is like an exaggeration, but no. The frame rate is lower than the low settings, which is to be expected. Is that a three-wheeled vehicle in front of me? No. Holy lag spike, 28 frames per second. Sometimes it lags in places it doesn't lag before. It doesn't seem like I can fully make it repeatable. Holy lag spike, 31 FPS for a moment. Oh, 26 FPS. 29. Let's turn frame generation on. And I had the frame rate cap set to 50 for that run. I didn't even know, but yeah, the frame rate cap was actually set to 50, which doesn't matter. My average frame rate was way below 50. I don't even think I did reach 50 for a moment, but I have to restart the game, so let's do that real quickly here. One moment. Alright, we're back with frame generation turned on, native AA on the high preset, of course 1080p. Let's reset the frame rate, and I have a feeling that this will have a lot more lag spikes than before, but let's do the whole loop around the map. Oh, 49 FPS. So frame generation in this case is not able to keep us at, oopsie, frame generation at this point is not able to keep us at 60 FPS plus, sadly, but let's, or 50 FPS plus, my bad. It's not quite able to keep us at a locked 50 with a 1% low of 45. I mean, our 1% low is already lower than that. We're at 40 FPS, 1% low. But it's still playable like this, though I do notice a little bit of input lag. Maybe that input lag is more due to the motion blur, though. That might actually be why it feels weird, because the motion blur throws me off a little bit here. I am not used to having motion blur. Oh, that's a big lag spike. 39 FPS. Yeah, high settings does not seem like a very good option, alright? It really doesn't. I have the weapon out again? Really? Just avoid high settings. It doesn't matter if you have frame generation turned on or off. This time, let's try to not crash. What? I didn't even know that was possible to crash like that. That is impressive. But no, that's not what I was trying to say. Let's try to not crash into that pole again. 38 FPS, 35. Yeah, this is not really any better than without frame generation. It really isn't. So, holy smokes, I think this actually might be a little bit worse, actually. So, yeah, let's just pretend that nothing is going on right now, and let's just turn the settings all the way up to Ultra here. Again, we're going to use FSR 3, native AA. Frame generation is turned off, and let's see what happens now. Reset the frame rate, sounds good, and let's go. 29 FPS, that's alright. Let's just keep on going. Maybe we'll be fine. Is my bus on fire? My bus is literally on fire right now. I don't know how to run. I am failing right now at the thing called playing a game. You know what? I always wear a red shirt in person, and I'm driving a red car right now. It's very, very fitting. And how do I get through here? I guess I can go that way. That works. Graphics card usage is actually getting quite high. If I was playing at 1440p, I think I would actually be fully graphics card bound, besides when I get a lag spike. The frame rate doesn't seem to be... ignoring that, the frame rate doesn't seem to be any worse than when I was at the high settings for some reason. So if you have to play at the high settings, you might as well go with Ultra in that case. It doesn't really look worse at all. I do have the frame rate still set to 50, capped, but it's not affecting anything right now because I'm not getting 50 FPS. We aren't even getting close to 50, ever. Not that good, alright? The 1% lows are 19 frames per second like this. It's just... it's hard to recommend playing at the Ultra settings. Alright, I think I've seen enough at Ultra. Let's go over and lower the resolution. Not resolution. Lower... turn on frame generation. That is what I'm trying to say. Let's turn on frame generation and see what happens. Again, I need to restart the game. So, let's do that one more time. Alright, we got our rusty old semi-truck pack again. That's fine. So let's do one more trip around the map here. This time, FSR frame generation is turned on, and this is not good, okay? Just before I do anything, alright? Again, we have the 50 FPS frame generation cap, but, like, the frame rate, it's stuttering too much, alright? It really is. Let's go back through here again. Yeah, 35 FPS, 36, that is not good. So I'm going to immediately say no to that, and instead, let's just cap the frame rate to 40, alright? Let's see what happens with a 40 frame per second cap. It might actually work better, but that motion blur is actually getting to me a little bit here. Let me just turn that off momentarily. Yeah, turn that from high to go away. Never come back. Yeah, alright. Either way, let's do a little drive around here with the 40 FPS cap. The CPU is already maxed out just right off the bat, so that's just not a good sign. Again, this is a dual core. This isn't intended for gaming, and we're playing Cyberpunk right now at 1080p ultra settings at like 40 FPS. That is not bad. Sure, you have to use frame generation, but still though, everything is running on your computer. I would say this is still a fair frame rate. Also, there's a lot of traffic all over the place right now because of crowd density being turned up, which is actually affecting the frame rate quite a bit probably. If I turn crowd density down, the frame rate actually might be a lot better. I don't know. But again, I don't have crowd density down. I'm testing the ultra settings. I guess that's the only difference I can tell between the settings is the crowd density. With the other settings, the crowd density is lower, so I don't have as... ooh, that's a lot of lag. With other settings though, what I'm trying to say is the crowd density is lower, so there's not that many people around, causing lag. Like I said before, I'm going to have some fun playing tag with those cops. Can I get into your car, please? I cannot. Okay. How do I get in? I don't know. In that case, let's play tag with our truck instead. That works. Alright. Hello, couplators. Where are you? Let's play tag. Boom! Yeah. Alright. Let's go. I feel like my bus is about to actually catch on fire because that's just what it's doing. Its state of health is actually quite low. So that actually is a possibility. It's like sparking right now driving down the road. That's not ideal, but that's alright. We're doing a chase in our broken vehicle here, which is seeming to be maybe a little slower than before. No, I mean, we're going 70. So we only lost a little bit in terms of speed, but we might actually escape, or maybe we won't. I don't know. but one way or another, for this being a dual core, it's performing quite good in Cyberpunk. So if you have an Intel Pentium G7400 and you're considering getting Cyberpunk, I would say go for it, alright? It's running quite good. Either way, thank you very much for watching this video. If you could leave a like on it, that would be appreciated, as well as if you could subscribe. Both of those would be awesome. Either way, yeah, thank you for watching. Oh, by the way, I'm monetized now. I don't have ads, I can't do that, but channel memberships are a thing now, and super thanks, so if you want to help support the channel, that'd be appreciated if you could do one of those. If not, that's perfectly fine as well, but yeah, thank you for watching though, and have a good day.